with self-cherries.
Big.
Why do people like that?
And I have my dog Sunday. We'll give it like 3 more minutes.
Don't know what that is.
Like maybe a little lightly like a running grass.
Maybe, I don't know.
It's strong, whatever it is.
Yeah, no cheating. This is Okay, that's the last one. So good. Okay, here comes the moment of truth. The moment of truth. How was that fun? Did we have some fun? Yeah, it's kind of a fun game, right? So by raise of hand, number one. Any takers? Number one.
Oh,
What?
I say lavender.
Oh, ding, 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 ding. Oh. If you got lavender, you got it right. Good job. And how would you describe the lavender scent? He's like lavender.
It smells like our bathroom.
Oh. So fresh. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, number two. Orange.
Pledge?
Citrus.
I put citrus.
Yeah, citrus is good. Oranges.
Yeah.
It was orange essential oils. Thanks, Mom. I stole them from your things. Oh, it's fine. Number three.
Nutmeg.
The tiger lily flower, smelled like the
Sounds like
part that falls off, you know, the dirt.
the petals.
Pollen.
The
Pollen.
seeds. Oh, no. This is my pedals. It's actually, what did we say right here? Nutmeg. Yes, so that smells like nutmeg. And you got it right. Yes. Good job. Number 4.
Oh, nasty.
What, in the back? Yes, I got some peppermints. You should feel like awake, right? Awake. Number 5 is the hardest of them all.
Oak.
No.
Lemongrass.
Yes, sir.
Smells like his kitchen.
I know, does that smell like the kitchen? Or
I recently got a little oil diffuser for my office because my work is so stressful. And I have lemongrass. So that's
You work here. No, I'm here. I'm here. Okay, number 6.
cinnamon.
Smells like cookies. Number 7. Furniture polish. Oh, like pine sol, right? So what does pine sol smell like? Lemons, guys. Lemons. Right? The cleaning power. So lemons is number 7. And then the last one. Cumin. I did not bottle my scent. No. Right, ginger. Ginger, yes. Everyone's like, we're getting super spot. So ginger. So if you got 5 or more right, 5 or more, pro snippers, no. Don't worry, everyone's a winner. Everyone's a winner. Very good. Everyone's surprised. Okay, so now that we're like kind of prepared, that kind of just showed you like the complexity of smell and how we take it in. A lot of times people will smell things differently, right? So now that you guys kind of have it in your mind, how you smell in your everyday lives, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of how animals and plants use smell to survive, right? So we're going to go aquatic, because that's my realm of fun, right? So think aquatically. There are 2 senses that are really, really dampened. What would those be? If you're underwater, yes and no. People, yes. How about that?
Your sound here.
Your sound, right? How fast does sound travel underwater?
Very
Faster than it does on land, right? And then what else?
Vision.
Vision. Yeah, I was like, I had to think for a second. Yes, that is the other one. Vision. And why is vision skewed? When you look at something underwater, it appears what?
Blurred. It's bigger.
It's bigger and closer, right? So you can't really rely on those 2 senses if you're an animal underwater to catch food, to find a mate, right? Or to do all sorts of other things that you need to survive. You're welcome to sit up front. I promise I don't bite much, right? So today we're going to talk a little bit about these different ways in which plants and animals use their chemosenses to survive, and how they've adapted to do so. And then lastly, how we might be interfering, right? That's kind of where we're going to get to my graduate research, but we'll get there. Okay, so because we're talking about chemicals, I had to bring the chemical jar, right? So from this jar, I'm going to pick some volunteers to pick one out. And these are just the different ways in which animals use their senses, right? And then we'll talk about it. So because you just got here, hi, I'm Alex. Brenda.
I'm Rob.
Rob. So great to meet you. So you get to pick out the magical jar of chemicals first.
Okay.
It's very exciting.
Yes, it is.
Read it so the people can hear it.
Okay. It is navigation.
Oh, navigation. That's a good one, right? So this might even be relevant here at the Elfin Forest. Navigation. What kind of animals might use navigation to, I don't know, swim upstream and find their birthing habitats? Salmon, right? So the chemical cues for navigation are super important for salmon, right? So when the salmons are the babies, they're upstream, right? And then what happens? They go downstream. Yes, it's very, very scientific. To the ocean, right? And then they live their lives for a while. And then what do they have to do? They gotta go back, right? And so if the sound and the hearing is distorted, What was another way they could figure that out? Through smell, right? Through their chemosenses. So oftentimes, salmon and other androgynous fishes use their chemosenses in order to find the place to have their babies, right? It's a very complex system, and we kind of hamper it a little bit by changing the watersheds, right? Changing the smell of the streams. Okay, nexties. David.
Finding food.
Oh my goodness, who loves brownies? I love the brownies, right? Love them. Especially, and how do I know that the brownies are in the kitchen?
Smell it.
Oh, because I can smell them, right? Thanks, Mom. There's a lot of hot tips from Mom right tonight. Because I can smell them, right? I'm in my bedroom and I'm like, I need to go to the kitchen now. Right? And so animals use this a lot. For instance, so there's some zooplanktons in the ocean, right? There's a lot of them. And what do the zooplanktons eat? Algae, smaller planktons, phytoplanktons, right? So small algae plankton. And so that's not so great for the phytoplankton, right? So what do you think? You might think that they're just plants, but I never say they're just plants, right? They're amazing. And so what might the phytoplankton do to keep the zooplankton from eating them?
Give off something that smells bad or tastes bad.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. Give off something that tastes bad. Or this is like kind of one of my favorite chemical interactions. They release a chemical. So when they're getting nommed on by the zooplankton, they release a chemical called dimethyl sulfate, DMS. And what that does is that cues pelagic birds to come in and eat the zooplankton, right? So if you can't feed them, right? And so they've actually done this on big scientific ships. They'll shoot canisters of dimethyl sulfate off the bow, and they'll see the birds just like the brownies, right? Just coming in to chow down. It's pretty cool. And these kind of infochemicals are known as chiromones, right? So it's like one thing that benefits one species, but not another. Okay, so finding food, we're all well aware of what that is. Next. Just let me know if I start talking too fast, I get real excited, and then it just kind of avalanches.
Chemicals inside.
Oh, that's so good. So we always think like chemicals are bad, right? Chemicals inside me. So what kind of chemicals do we have inside of us?
Everything.
Oh, so many. Everything. It's all chemicals, right? So there's the good chemicals and the bad chemicals. So the good chemicals, we have heard of hormones. Yeah, so we got the two main hormones, the what and the what? Estrogen and testosterone. We got like a kind of equal amount of that in here today, so that's good. And then we have some other hormones that are super important. So say if I'm like, oof, right? What might trigger?
Adrenaline.
Oh, adrenaline, right? So we have the HPI axis, I'm trying to think of it, the human, thyroid and all that. Thank you. I was like, there's a word? Pituitary, right? And that releases cortisol, right? The stress hormone. And that starts to jumpstart the adrenaline, right? So there's all these kind of chemicals in our own selves, within us. And that's important to note because not only do these chemicals dictate interactions within species, but also between species, within like bodies, and then also within the entire ecosystem. So it's all chemical, right? Super fancy. And then we'll talk about this at the end, but we start to get a little wonky when you start to mess with those chemical imbalances in our bodies, right? Not great. Okay, David, you already went, so sorry. Next. The colors make it fun, right? I love it.
This one says bioactive compounds.
Ooh, this is a good one. I think it's a good one. Bioactive compounds. So who here has heard of penicillin? It's kind of a big deal, right? So penicillin is a bioactive compound, right? Derived from what? Mold. Gross. Yes, derived from a natural thing. So here's a little story. When I worked at Georgia Tech, everyone thinks they're just engineers there, right? But there's actually scientists and biologists. we were doing drug discovery, right? And so how that works is you go into the ocean, you pick up a bunch of sponges and some seaweeds and, yeah, sponges and seaweeds usually, right? And then you put them in various compounds to extract their compounds, right? And then you test those compounds against various diseases. I just made like a 20-year process real simple, but that's essentially how it goes. And the reason is because these same compounds that these organisms use for defense or for finding mates, all these things are also bioactive and can help us cure things like diseases and stuff, right? So super important, so that's why it's important to study these things, but it's a really long process. So basic research is awesome. I was trying to think of another bioactive compound. Most of the things we have come from nature, right? So nature's cool. Oh, do we have
What's aspirin?
Oh, yeah. And then sometimes, so once we find the compound, then we derive it, right? We make our own, like a human fake, right? Because you can't just keep mining the ocean for things. Well, supposedly. Stacy, hit me with it.
All right.
Competition.
Competition. I have to think of the example. Maybe it's not of this one. Let me just check the notes real fast. There's so many. Okay. Do you guys have eucalyptus here in the park?
We tried to get rid of it.
Yeah, we're going to get rid of it. Why?
Invasive.
It's invasive. That's one good reason, right? It lights like you wouldn't believe. And the reason it does that is because there's a lot of compounds in it. So these bioactive, or these compounds are really flammable, just the way that they're developed. But another reason, have you ever looked at a eucalyptus and saw that there's nothing around the base?
Yes.
Yeah? So that's kind of interesting. And so what we call that is allelopathic. So essentially what happens is the tree produces a chemical compound that basically is like no one else gets to live here, right? So it's this competition for space. A really cool ocean example of this, again, when I was in Fiji, working with Georgia Tech, we were studying allelopathic seaweeds. Ooh, seaweeds. And so what was happening is seaweeds are normally pretty bad for coral reefs, right? Because they get on them and they rub them and they don't like it. But what we were finding is that there was more damage being done than what was just could be accounted for by just abrasion, right? And so we went in and we started pulling the seaweeds and testing them against different corals and basically extracting compounds from the seaweeds and testing those compounds against the corals. And what we found is that a lot of times these compounds from the algae was toxic to the corals. And so not only were they killing them off through abrasion, but they were basically like out-competing them by being like, I'm gonna put these chemicals on you and you're not gonna like it. And so further to that point, we were also studying which herbivores, so which fishes were eating those most toxic algae, right? So then we could inform the local tribal groups, like don't fish these fish because these fish are gonna protect your coral reefs, right? So when you live in Fiji, you eat fish, right? Your sustenance liver, so it's super important for the locals. So good example of competition in two different ecosystems. Let's see, right you go.
It's something orange.
I like it.
To me,
Oh.
smell of that.
Yes, I like it. To me, that's a good one. So this actually is TMII, or to me. So we call this a trait-mediated indirect interaction. So a lot of these things are not direct effects, they're indirect effects. And so we talk about the smell of death, right? So this is really prevalent in the ocean. So say we're swimming along, right? We're little fishes, and you get eaten, not me, sorry. And I can smell that, like something ate you, and I don't want to get eaten, right? And so picking up off that cue, I'm not going to go close to her, right? So the smell of death can have a pretty good impact on how ecosystems are moving, right? And this happens a lot. I mean, a lot of animals cue in on the smell of death, right? What kind of animals that are really famous that live at the Wild Animal Park? Condors, right? Everyone loves a good condor. on dead things, right? They can smell the dead skin and the dead carcass. So for some animals it's good, like scavengers, but for some animals it's a warning, right? If you got eaten, I don't want to get eaten, so I'm not going to go close to you. Yep, pretty impactful. And what that causes, the TMII, is a trait-mediated indirect interaction. So basically what's happening is something's happening to her, it's going to change my behavior, right? So it's changing my traits. Does that make sense? But not directly, because nothing happened to me. I only had something happen to her. Sorry. See. Okay.
La La Land. Constitutive and inductive.
Kids say the best. Okay, so this is constitutive. Sorry, my writing's really bad. Versus inducible. So this is referring to defensive compounds in the ocean. So constitutive means the defensive compound is always on, right? Inducible means it has to get turned on. It's like you're flipping a switch. And so in a place like the South Pacific, or where there's a lot of herbivores, there's a high risk you're gonna get eaten. You're gonna always want to defend yourself, right? So you might always have these chemicals on. But producing chemicals is really energetically expensive, right? So we only have so much energy. We can allot it to a couple things. We can allot it to making the babies. We can allot it to growing bigger, or just survival in general by way of creating a defensive mechanism. And so if you're not in a place where you're not going to get eaten a lot, say here in California, there's not a lot of herbivorous fishes. There's some snails, but they don't eat that much and they don't eat that fast. You might have an inducible defense, something that you can turn on. So say I'll be the seaweed, right? And say Mr. Snail, Mr. Simon comes over and tries to eat, right? And so normally I'm just chilling in the seaweed, or in the tide pools. But then Simon does a little nibble and I'm like, oh no, oh no. So I'm gonna put all my chemicals into that area, right? And then Simon's gonna be like, oh. Right? Go for it.
That's exactly what I would do.
So constitutive would be you're always on. Inducible means that they have to be turned on in order to be effective. And we'll get into why that's super important. Timing is everything, right? It really is.